welcome back to Tella Bellas. We're going to continue with part 2 of what happened.
Yeah, picking up from where we left off. So I think a lot happened in that time. A lot of it's a bit of a blur, but the main points is that Mum, with time, like I think it was a bit up and down. So Mum was still in hospital, still not really awake and responding, but we've done a lot of Zoom prayers with family and friends every week. And we had prayer point scriptures, we had a little worship before, and we just like praying. And with time, Mum actually got better to the point like she came around, they were able to put her in a chair. But she did unfortunately lose like some of her mobility. So her right side was affected from the stroke. So she can use her left side for a lot of things, but her right side is limited. So anyway, done a lot of prayers and stuff, and Mum got better, thank God. To the point I think where the hospital wanted to discharge Mum, but not just discharge her home. To be honest, we were still in Birmingham. Nessie was still in London, but we were all staying at Mum's. But we were all planning to move back so that Mum could come home.
So we started looking at places to live back home, because Mum's flat wasn't suitable. Obviously, we weren't going to go up to Birmingham. We needed to find a place locally. So we were doing that in the meantime while trips and back to and forth from the hospital.
Bruh.
Those trips were a lot.
Not just from hospital, from Birmingham to South London, back and forth.
Yes.
Yeah, they wanted to discharge her, but they had nowhere to put her, so they put her in a temporary kind of care home. Because remember, we were living away, so we didn't even have a base for Mum to come back to. Yeah,
because she couldn't go back to her flat because it wasn't suitable. So we were looking for places to move back so we can accommodate all of us. And at this point, they were like, we're only letting her go if there's a suitable place. We had to find a place that was like ground floor for her, because as Val mentioned, she lost mobility, so she couldn't walk. And we didn't even really know the depths of that as well. So she can't move her right side basically, so it's only the left side of her body. Bear in mind, she's a right-handed person, so she needs to learn to use her left hand to do a lot of things. And
she's done really well, to be honest. You wouldn't even know that she wasn't left-handed.
Yeah,
she's strong, bro.
I think the hospital, I think they really want us to just put her in a care home. That would be the easy option for them. Do a bit of paperwork and leave her and let the girls get on with their lives. And we was like, no, like personally, that's not an option for us. And we always know, and we heard at the time that recovery is best when people are in their home environment with people that they know. You know what I mean? That kind of familiarity is really helpful. So we had to accept, I think, to an extent, the fact that she would have to go to temporary care home simply because we didn't have a home base for her to come home to. And that in itself
was a challenge.
It was more than a challenge. It was tough. And when she did eventually move to the care home, which we didn't want, but she needed to come out of the hospital because it was COVID period still. Only these two were allowed to go see her because they could only put 2 people down. So I think we were still in Mum's flat at that time. And I literally would just have to wait for them to video call me, and I was just like, man. So
but the video was tough. The visits were only 30 minutes as well. So by the time we drove, how long? We could only be there for half an hour before getting turfed.
And Mum was still doing those COVID tests as well.
And the masks.
And Mum didn't understand because I don't think COVID was to the point it was while she was not in her good state. So when she was at this care home and she came round and they brought her in her chair, they put this big screen, do you remember? Yeah. And she was like she was not having it. She didn't understand what was going on. Like it was a lot to comprehend, and we're trying to calm Mum down. It
almost felt like, you know, in the movies when someone's like contagious and they isolate someone.
She wasn't.
She wasn't, but for her, so she was in this like unconscious state while in the hospital. Then she got moved to this care home temporarily, which we said we're only allowing her to go temporarily because she's coming home. She's not staying in a care home. We don't do that. We have our family at home, we look after them, and we help them get better by God's grace. So we said, okay, let's temporarily move her to this care home. So when she did, she was back to being conscious, because bearing in mind when she was in hospital, she was in and out of sleep. She didn't really know what was going on. Only when the OT did the assessment and realised that she was making recovery, that she was actually suitable to go to a rehab. So she went to the care home temporarily, and as we said, we were going to visit her. So when she came out, they had like put masks on, they had put the gowns on. And Mum was kind of like, what's going on? Why am I isolated from everybody? Why are there screens? Why is everybody wearing masks? Because again, COVID wasn't as as it was when she came out. So she was like, why is everyone like staying distance? We had that 2 meter distance thing.
Plus the screen.
Yeah, plus the screen. So we couldn't even touch her. But I was under the screen. I was like, hi, Mum.
But also, we came to learn about Mum's speech was also affected. So she got, I think it's called...
aphasia.
Her words were jargonistic. Like, she was making the same nouns. She could comprehend what she was saying, but it wasn't computing from her brain to her mouth. Like,
it was a sound that was just...
she's talking like she's talking in full sentences, but what's coming out is... I can't even do that.
The output wasn't coming out. And it was just
but to her, sound. She's talking and we're looking at her like, you know, when she first came home, it took us sometimes even 3 hours, 4 hours to figure out what she wanted just to control, because it took so long for us to understand the communication needs when she first came home. Now we're pros, even though sometimes it's still difficult. But it's like when you have your own child and they're talking to you in Google Gaga, only your mum and dad understand what they're saying. Oh, you want a biscuit or you want this? Like, and it took us for Mum to come home to understand what she was trying to say, and she's actually improved. So her language skills from when it all happened to being home, it's so much better. She said yes, thank you, amen, love you. If you're singing as well, it comes out with words. But obviously it's a bit awkward still, so she's not doing that. But I digress. That's what we're saying. She
was just there for maintenance, if I'm correct.
They even said that, actually.
Yeah, she was just there. They were there to maintain her and not do anything to improve her quality of life. Bed
because there was nowhere suitable for her until she came home. They knew us by name. They were sick of us. Even the point you asked them, what did you say?
Yeah, because we kept calling, because again it was still COVID. There was limitations. We couldn't visit as much as we wanted. We were like half an hour, 40 minutes away from her at the care home, and they don't know our mum like we do. How do we know how people... You hear these things about care homes, so we were like on point. We're like, nobody's having any chance to abuse our mum. It's not going to happen. We kept her phone there so we can video call her. And as she was able to use her phone in a way and communicate, we would just leave the phone on. So we were constantly checking, and not everybody has people checking in on them. And we've had to understand that. So we were calling more than 5 times a day. We'd be calling every hour, every 2 hours, just to say, is Mum okay? What's the latest? What kind of medication is she having? And you can hear the frustration in some of the nurses' voice. And I said to them one day, can I just ask you a question? They're like, yeah. I goes, do we call a lot? And they're like, yes. We were like, oh. And the guy goes, well, you know what, to be fair, if it was my mum, I would call too. But a lot of people in that care home didn't have people calling them. So for us to be calling, the phone popping off every half hour or an hour, it was inconveniencing them because they have to come and pick up. But we were like, you are the eyes and ears. We can't be there. You have to let us know how mum is doing. We want to know she's okay. But they were fed up to the point that we knew that sometimes they were ignoring our calls.
Yeah, but we
will call her phone, and hopefully someone in the room will pick it up.
And then one day, out of nowhere, we were just sitting down in the front. I think we had just moved here.
After we moved,
and we was like, Mum's calling. I was like, we were so like confused because she hadn't called us at all by herself. And I picked up the phone and I was like, Mum, and we just like, I think we started crying because like, obviously maybe she's right-handed. She hasn't been using her speech has been affected. And
so proud, Mum.
Endeavour,
you made my day,
first
Mum.
effort she's made by herself to pick up the phone and call us.
Love you
we were in tears, and she was just there with her phone. She wasn't necessarily holding it up, but it was just there.
I think the strength, isn't it? Because she's
been
been so long not doing anything. So to even pick up her phone, so like half of her face was in it. And we were like, Mum. But still, I don't think the articulation, if that's a word, was there. So she was just holding it. She
knew what she was doing though.
And then she was looking for all of us. And the next thing you know, I don't know how did she do it? She didn't even use her hand, did she? Because she was holding the phone. She went, and then she done 1/3 one, and we all just like burst out in tears because we were like, oh my God, that was her way of saying like a kiss for you, and a kiss for you. And we were like, that's the first time in months that we had seen that.
We had seen a piece of our mum come to life. Because the way I see it is like, she had the stroke, she was in hospital, she wasn't herself. She was in and out of sleep, in and out of consciousness, couldn't communicate with us, couldn't respond to us, just holding our hands. And even then, sometimes we just didn't have our mum. So when she came to rehab and she did something like pick up the phone and call us, we were like, Mum's called us. But at that time, she still didn't have her speech. It's like she didn't really know what was going on. It was all a bit of a blur. Even for us, it was a bit of a blur. Yeah. But as we've come to today, she's like her character herself. But at that time, it was just weird because this is our mum, but it's not our mum. Yeah. Like she's in this state or this capacity that...
In a wheelchair. We've never seen her in a wheelchair. Like
she was an independent woman. doing her
trying to
things.
communicate. That was the hardest thing. Trying to make out something so simple.
And it's
To
like,
her, she's looking. I was like, "What's wrong?" Like I'm talking, but obviously from her brain to her mouth, the output was just.
Yeah, how the doctor explained it. I don't know if you guys were there at one time. He said basically it's like mum has a filing cabinet, and you know how on our keyboard it's a QWERTY keyboard where you see, you know where the Q is, you know where the W is, you know where the V is, etc. But they said how mum's brain has processed things is that all the letters are jumbled up. So I think that's why the output is a bit confusing, because where the letters were before, they're not there anymore. But that was the best way he described it to me, and I was like, oh, I get it now. So yeah,
if you Google aphasia or dysphagia,
We'll put the
have a
right
look
words in
and
the.
see what it looks like for some people, because there's different versions of it. Everyone can have a dysphagia or aphasia, but for each person it's different. So while Mum was in this care home, we were waiting for her place at rehab. But before we even got to rehab was a challenge, more than a challenge, because they didn't want to put her for rehab. So basically we had a team meeting with all the professionals, all the psychologists, the cardiologists, the occupational health, all the people who make the decision about one person's life were in the room.
MDT.
And I was in the room, and my sisters were on video. And basically they were deciding and saying Mum doesn't meet the qualifications to basically go for rehab. And we were like, why? And it's because she was in and out of this consciousness. And we're like, but she needs a chance. She's not going to a care home, so what do we do? And they're basically saying,
That's it.
leave her. And we're like, we're not leaving her, so we're going to fight. So we had to push, we had to fight, we had to write letters.
No, we've done a huge
We
letter.
had to just push, because we're like, our mum is not going to a care home permanently.
We
So
stated
she
facts.
needs help and support for this rehab. And they said she's not performing, she's not doing X, Y, and Z. And before that, there was an OT who had assessed her before she went on holiday. So Mum wasn't in a state to be, she wasn't qualified for rehab. When this OT came back, she called us one day and said, oh my gosh, your mum has made a turnaround. And in that week or few weeks while she was off, we were doing some prayers.
and fire prayers, bro.
Prayers with the family, prayers with friends who could join. And thank you guys for that as well, because that kept us and pushed and encouraged us. But we were doing these prayers because we were like, Mum has to have favour, because they're not going to send her to no care home permanently.
Our vessel wasn't against flesh and blood. Like we had to take it up like spiritually and just like pray, because they literally weren't going to accept her for anything. And I could understand from their side why they're not seeing enough improvement. But God quickly turned that around, and like Mum was conscious and she was making effort. She even put on her own glasses.
She drank from a mug.
Yeah, she drank from a mug, and these are the first things that we hadn't seen this since the stroke. That was like
January.
2 months or something, and now she's doing all these things, and they were like, oh. And then so this letter, I think we went in like anointed letter boy.
They gave her the thing. They didn't like give her a drink. They gave her a mug just to see what she would do with it, to see like if her brain will realise like, okay, cool, I'm gonna pick up the cup and drink it. Then they gave her a hairbrush, and I remember she was like this, and they were like, okay, she's using a hairbrush. Then it was the glasses, like you said, and she was proper like, and then we were all on like video call. I remember I was at work, and I said to my manager, like, please let me just go upstairs so I can take this call, and we were just all just bawling in the video.
It was such a big turnaround. It was a decision between she's going to a care home or she's going to rehab. And rehab obviously is like, you have a certain window again to get that started.
It was like 0 to 100.
Yeah.
It was like nothing. Then all of a sudden,
That was God. God woke up whatever was sleeping in her body, because they were shocked. They were like, basically they had written her off.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time they had written her off. So we thank God that she made turnaround. She qualified for rehab. So we were getting all the preparations. So before rehab, she had to go to the care home temporarily, which we agreed. So she's not staying here permanently, but temporarily. So all the arrangements were being made. Everybody's getting fired up, because we had agreed with the discharged person that Mum's by herself. One of us has to go with her to this rehab place, because it was about an hour and a half away or something like that. So we didn't want her to go by herself. So we said, okay, the ambulance or transport's going to come at 6 o'clock in the morning. So we were like, we'll be there at 5:30, or even be there at 5. So just that we're ready. They were like, no, it's not going to leave without you. Not going to leave without you. So we go.
Yeah, let me tell the story. Do you know why I feel this so deeply? Is because I didn't get to see Mum. The stroke happened in January. I didn't get to see my mum in the flesh till March. Yeah, we'll get to that point. So these two were seeing her. Obviously, it affected everybody still, but that's my mum. Okay, it's not mum, but it's our mum. So anyway, so I'm like excited. I've taken a day off work at this point because they're like, cool. The ambulance is gonna come and they're gonna drive her. I think it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours away to the rehab in London. So like, okay, cool. So we get there, we get some of mum's stuff. So again, we had to mask up. Before we even get in there, you have to do the whole sign, show your COVID thing to make sure that you're COVID. So we went through all that process, like 20 minutes. And then we get there, and then what did they say, Nessie?
She's left.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Your mum's gone. We were like,
Gone where?
What?
Didn't we arrange that we would meet you so we can go with her?
Bruv.
So we were panicking at the time because bearing in mind this time.
Panicking?
Oh my God!
Mum hasn't got her speech, so she's not able to call to say, "Hi Nessie, they're taking me to da-da-da-da." She's gone with people who don't know her.
not even just that, just the comprehension of where you're going, who you're going with, how far it is. Mum don't like, even when we used to drive, she hated long distance with us because she'd be like, ooh, she could drive, no problem, but being a passenger made her feel a bit. So imagine now lying down on a bed in an ambulance, you don't know the people, you don't know where you're going, you don't know what time it is, and then the speech difficulty as well.
Yeah. And also because of the stroke, even the mum could comprehend. Sometimes she was not disorientated, but she didn't confused. Like it took a lot to explain. You had to explain really slowly and stuff. So imagine they probably didn't even explain to her at all. You know what I mean? And we're just there like, what?
Because to these people, it's just a job, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just pick up a patient,
They don't know the history of the person.
blah blah blah, take him to wherever.
We stopped crying about everything. We got in the car. I think I was driving.
You weren't
wasn't it?
crying, but you were.
I was vexed.
She was.
I was
hysterical.
fuming.
Hysterical.
Oh my
Hysterical.
And then
I think you were driving.
you called mum, right? And
No,
then
I called, so I
you
had to
called
call,
mum's phone.
but they weren't picking up. So I had to call the rehab place, like, can I have the number of the transport? So then they gave me the number of the transport of the person who was actually with mum as her escort. So I got the number of this Karen, Janet.
If you know
whatever
who Karen is.
She like,
Yeah, so I got the number of her
Jesus.
and we called her. Then do you want to say or should I say?
no, in the background was what you had. Not
the
even-
back-
No,
Background.
so we had called first and then she
Oh,
called up the
God.
number and I said, oh, hello, have you got my mum with you? Or her daughters, we were meant to meet you before you left. She goes,
Oh, we got there a bit early, so we just left. And
that wasn't what the plan was. Because, yeah,
I can't understand what she's saying. I don't think she speaks English.
Oh, what? Wait!
That was the killer. She doesn't think she speaks
English.
English.
We were like, do you understand the
Did you read
patient
the
that
notes,
you're
bruv?
did you understand the patient that you're carrying?
You just pick and collect and what?
And you could hear mum distressed in the background, I remember.
That was what was triggering.
And I think that's what was like, we're not there. We don't even know whereabouts on the motorway they are. Me and Nessie are still 2 hours away at this point. We don't know how, and this would be the longest journey mum's had since the stroke.
But also, I think there was rules when you got to the other place that you couldn't go in, and that's why they wanted to see her before she got to the rehab because they had their own protocol because of COVID and stuff.
Yeah, we couldn't
So
go
it was
in.
like if you get there, if they got there and you weren't there, that's it. Like you're not seeing the mum for. We didn't see mum for.
And lo and behold,
Hey.
that is what happened. Me and Nessie got there maybe I would say about half an hour, 45 minutes after they got there. Because the ambulance was parked right there when we got there. Do you remember? Ness tried to go in, couldn't go in. What happened? Waterworks again. Because it's like, do you know how distressing that day was?
The closest
the
way I can
emotion
explain it
was
is
just-
like, you know, if a mother loses their child and they don't know where they are and they're searching, not necessarily mothers, fathers as well, but do you know what I mean? That thing of where's your child? Where are they? I can't find them. You don't know where they are. You can't get hold of them, and then you
They're
find them in a
vulnerable.
place, and then they're telling you can't
You
go
can't
in.
go in.
This COVID, yeah.
Oh God.
And I took a bloody test still to stick up my nose and throat for what?
No entry. Access denied.
Oh,
It was
God.
peak. It really was.
Oh, God.
But being at the rehab, I think, was one of the best things for mum. Even to the point, I think, when she was leaving the rehab, she was so emotional because I think it was like she got accustomed to being there and that routine, and now it's like, oh, she's coming home. Like, I think she was thinking how her daughter's gonna cope with everything they were doing there. How is it gonna happen here? She's not gonna have like nurses or healthcare assistants and all those people that were helping her, and it was like.
She built a family with them.
Yeah, but we prayed for
she
that.
was there
that
for
was one of our Zoom prayers.
6-7 months.
Yeah.
A long time. So it's like everybody knew her, everybody wanted to be around mum, and they knew us as well for the time that we could actually go, because the time was limited, and again the whole mask and all that stuff. Like she ate her first, so mum was peg fed from when the stroke first happened all the way up until she came home, but we'll get to that after. But even like she had so many key moments in that rehab place. Like she had her first, she had a swallow assessment, and she was able, I think the first thing they done, I baked her a cake because it was her birthday.
Just inside if you want, Mum.
Tiny.
Hey guys, cheeky plug here. It's Vivian. I make much better cakes now. Check out my Instagram. Follow me on It's the Cake for me. Okay, bye. Speech and language, saltine. We'll cut a little bit of the cake and they gave it, and mum's looking at her and she swallowed it. They were like, everyone's like thinking on guard, like, oh, like, how's it gonna go? Is she gonna choke? Is she gonna be okay? Absolutely
the
fine.
First thing she ate since January.
Yeah.
Even also there because she had her first haircut.
Yeah.
Somebody got their haircut.
Go mama, go mama, go mama.
Yeah.
You guys done that.
Yeah.
Actually, I was at work.
So when she was in hospital from the stroke, she wasn't able to eat. So there's this thing called aspiration where you can choke on your own food or your own saliva, anything like that. So when we said peg fed, we'll try and find what the actual meaning is. But she had a tube inserted, and she was being fed liquids basically up until
to give her the nutrients that she needed.
Until when she went to rehab. So when she was able to eat her first meal or first piece of cake, it was kind of like everybody was tense to see if she was gonna like.
Is she okay? Is she not? And then she was fine, bro. She was absolutely fine.
Her mum loves her food, so when they were giving her hospital food, they'll be bringing her stuff and just be like.
I remember the time when she was like she wanted something, and again we weren't really like understanding yet at that point because it was still new to us as well. And she kept saying what she wanted, going over it. We were like, what is it? We were getting pictures up of food. Do you know what it was for all my Nigerian people out there? A gege bread and egg. That's what she wanted. As soon as we showed her the picture, she was like, oh, she really wanted it. And I think we went back the next day and we got it for her. That meal was like Jesus brought it down and gave it to her himself. She was
the
like...
salt team was scared there because they're so used to giving people food in bits, and we just thought it was like,
hey mum, take it.
You know, like when you have a baby, you start feeding them amala and all those jaw soups. Like, come on, that's what we was like. She's fine.
She actually even did have that at one point when we could sit outside when the sun was out. We've got a Nigerian dish called Owedu, and I don't know if she had like amala or pound of jam or something like that, and she was like,
It was one of one of her best friends that made it.
She was loving it.
You haven't been eating, and then your best friend cooks you this meal, and you're just salivating. When she saw that meal, and even the nurses, because there were some Nigerian nurses as well, they were like, "Are you sharing?" Mum was like, "No, like this is mine." Oh, that was so funny.
Yeah, there was good memories there. Obviously, it was tough, like leaving her and like saying goodbye, and it was very difficult, but just seeing her improve daily was so encouraging. Yeah. Damn, that seemed so long ago.
It was a different time then.
But it was a good place for Mum. I'm so glad like prayers work, because you know you don't always hear positive experiences of where people are. But, like our mum is so precious to us. You know, like she's done so. Your mum is your mum. Do you know what I mean? The same way she's fought for us and done things for us, like there was no way we wouldn't fight for her. There was no option, and
it wasn't even a thought.
It wasn't even a thought. The prayers and just like the non-stop, like really the grace of God. Yeah. Honestly, the grace of God, because when you look back, He's everything that we tried to navigate at that time. Well, I think now I'm like, how was it possible? It doesn't make sense how we got through it all. Also, while still working, remember that it's wild, but you know what? Only God.
Yeah. that whole time when Mum was actually at rehab. We remember what Ness and Val said at the beginning, that we had to find a suitable place for Mum to be able to come back home, even though they didn't want that. But I think what kind of swayed them as well was seeing Mum's interaction with us, and they were like seeing sides to Mum that they didn't really see, and they were asking her questions about her siblings and stuff like that. And when we got there one day, she was able to tell the doctors that she's got one sibling in this part of the world, one sibling in that, but and all of it was accurate, and we weren't there. And even like writing with her left hand, she wrote down some names, and then they were like, "Oh, has she got a sister called this, or has she got a brother?" And we were like, "Whoa!" Like it's all still there. The stroke affected the output.
After being away, and be looked after by so many people that became her family in that rehab for how many months, and now coming home. And I think she was scared for us as her daughters, like, how are they gonna? I didn't think Mum never likes to be a burden in any way, shape, or form. But I think that was what was on her mind. It was going to be too much for the girls. How are we gonna help her, you know? And we didn't know ourselves, but we knew we wanted Mum home, so we was gonna figure it out. And I remember her coming home. I think she was in transport, but to go and get all her stuff. I think she was a bit nauseous on the tech because someone else was driving in it. She doesn't like being the passenger driver. So when she got home, she was feeling very sick, and we was like, every little thing was like, it was like extra. Like, even the first night sleeping, it was like, you didn't want to sleep. It was like, I just want to watch Mum. Is she gonna be okay? Just like.
It was just a new thing
for all of us.
Yeah. It's not an easy thing. People do leave their families. People do leave it to the carers. We're like, we're going to be in this journey with you.
Yeah, it's quite sobering just to talk about it again, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that was a lot.
We'll come back with more stories and just give you some insights into the randomest things that have happened. Let me just tell you, salad, fire truck.
Oh my God.
No.
The pestilent water, the bleach wipes.
Hospital trip.
What a mighty God we serve.
Hallelujah, praise
Thank you for watching our videos. Peace and love.
Bruh.
Let me help you.
Thanks.